Hey YouTubers, thanks for coming back again. Tonight we are just going to delve into a little bit of old school print medium as I'm going through some of my things and finding some of these little treasures and just, gabbing about them a little bit and just looking through some interesting things about them. So that's not by any stretch the amount of vintage stuff that I have. I've got tote boxes full of it, but some of the notable things that I knew that I would want to have on display or would make a good talk piece I've brought up. Some of my original figures, two of the collector cases with original vintage figures in them. I may sort them out and maybe kind of gloss over them at some point. But as far as just vintage stuff, I just felt like talking about tonight. I just wanted to kind of go over what was actually back in the day the only real way to revisit the movies, because you didn't have videotape, you didn't have streaming services, you didn't have these things on TV a lot. So when the movies came out, they came and they went, and you were stuck with your memories or a facsimile, or in this case, comic books, storybooks, collector's bubblegum cards, which I have a very rounded off collection that I'll probably go through at some point. So when you think about it, those of us who are the ages that we are, that we had these things when the original movies came out, these mean something to you, because they go back to the way things were for you. And again, the only way you could really relive these movies was through these mediums. A few toys like the diecast Falcon and Snowspeeder in the foreground there represented when they came out, they were like a new level of toy. That they looked much better and scaled better, even though they were smaller. And I really think that Snowspeeder is probably almost a perfect movie scale even today. It's kind of crazy. So just kind of getting into this a little bit, just kind of gloss over. I'll start. Well, these storybooks here, I'll leave here in a minute, but I'm just going to kind of go to these comic books, the large size Marvel comic books. They did make one for Empire, but they never made a large one for Jedi. As far as I know, for Jedi, they made a animated, or a comic book, an actual paperback novel comic of it, which I have. But when these came out, they came out in 2 volumes, and I have my original opened and looked through versions as well, back covered up and not really wanting to use them, but I'm not going to go through them and leaf through them and look at everything. I just have them up for display here. But I did find a number of years ago at a flea market, there was a vendor selling vintage things, and they had both of these Marvel comic books, the large versions of them, the exact same print and runs of the ones that I had, and I have them in loosely stored in cellophane. I'm gonna stick you over here. No, actually, well, I'm gonna put you here. And they they're huge. They're, I don't know, 14 inches, 16 inches high, something like that. And they basically just, from front to back, was the entire movie in print form. And this was my other than schoolwork, this is what I was reading for 3 years until Empire came out, most of the time, because it was, again, a depiction of the film, and we didn't have video or anything like that. We just had these. We had toys to kind of play with, but nothing really kind of showing us the actual events of the film. So that was about what it was. They were, and the people that were selling these things at that flea market sold them to me for the price on the front cover, $1 each. I gladly fessed up the money. I looked on eBay a few years ago to see how much these were going for, and I haven't looked again, so I don't know if it's changed. But they're really, and they're not really that much of a collectible thing. I was surprised to see they're $5, something like that. Um, and so I don't know if it's just because people aren't interested in them, or if they just printed just a ton of them. Um, I don't care. I was just curious to see what they were going for, but that was it. So here they are, and I wanted to break them out and just kind of talk about them because, again, these things are images burned into my brain uh, about Star Wars. When I think of Star Wars, I often think about the way these things looked, and then they're pretty cool, and I like to just kind of have them in sight once in a while. Um, yeah, and these diecast things, I'm not really going to go too much into them right now, but they're just super cool. These are not my original ones. I had these before, and I also had a Star Destroyer. And the neighborhood kid and I, that I was friends with, who I'm still friends with, by the way, we had a falling out for a while, but when you're 11, that happens sometimes. He and I both had the same like pile of Star Wars toys. Um, and we would just get together and play constantly. And at some point, I lost these two, which I think I lost them, or they may have ended up in somebody's pile of toys without my knowledge. I don't know. Doesn't matter. But you just go around, you just go through life, and you just deal with it. And as I just came around into my collecting phase again in the few recent years, I just kind of looked them up and see on eBay if anybody was selling any, and found a few of these, and thankfully these things are in pristine order, and grabbed one for myself, and so I've got my diecast metals back, except for Star Destroyer. I'm still looking for one of those, but is what it is. So yeah, that's a little story on them. And again, it's the things that are tangible that you can connect with, that remind you instantly of how things were, and the way where things have come along. Pretty cool. All right, so these storybooks here, anybody may or may not be familiar with them. They were available. I think they were available normally, like in a bookstore or selling in magazines. I don't know, but we would get them from our school. They are our English or reading class, or the library would have a, once or twice a year a book sale where they would get books, and you could go down and buy them, or you could order them. Like you could had an order form that they passed around. You could order what you wanted, and of course, we would. And they are from Scholastic. I don't know if Scholastic Book Services, is that what it is? I haven't looked at this in a while. Yeah, Scholastic Book Services. I'm not sure if they're still doing anything or not, but they made some good stuff for a bunch of kids back in the day. And a lot of these were promo shots that they used for the back covers, front covers. Well, alternate shots. I mean, obviously a promo shot of 3PO and R2. Oh, sorry about that. Because that was nowhere that I recall in the film. I mean, that's obviously a shot of Vader and Empire from the Luke and Vader fight in Bespin, but it doesn't look like any shot that I remember seeing. So it may have just been a leftover production still. And then the shot of Luke from Return of the Jedi on the skiff is probably an unused scene, but it was from a similar scene. There was, an obvious shot that he jumped up on the barge and was prompted that way. We'll get into this because there's an interesting picture in this one here that I want to see if anybody can shed any light on. But the cool part about these is they, and some of these, matter of fact, well, no, they didn't. There was another line of product, which I'll maybe break out at another point, called the Story of series, like the story of Star Wars, the story of Empire, and they came with a little 3 or 4 page book, and they came along with an audio cassette of somebody they got to narrate, kind of like an audio book, narrating the events of the film while you could hear the actual soundtrack of the movie, the actual sound of the movie with all the, sounds and people and noises and music and everything, the actual film audio in the background as they narrated it. And matter of fact, well, if I go over here to my lightsaber case, and I think about it, there's one for Return of the Jedi, the story of Return of the Jedi. And you leaf through it, and it just again shows a few select pictures as the condensed version of the movie plays on, because they were only on a cassette, which was a half an hour on each side, so you got only roughly an hour of the movie as far as audio content. So anyway, getting back to these were kind of doing the same idea, but they were a little bit thicker, so they had a lot more to them. Your basic opening shot, which I don't know where this was. This is probably Yavin. That might be the Death Star in the background, but I think it's an upside down shot because I think that's how it looked in the film. But yeah, there's Death Star there, and the pictures are very very basic pictures, descriptions of the characters, and again, these are a lot of some maybe alternate scene shots, some pre-production promo shots, maybe wardrobe dress-up shots, things like that, with Vader and so forth. It's pretty cool. It goes through the basics, telling little stories about how stuff progresses. Little scenes like this. There's an alternate shot of the Star Destroyer with actual thrust coming out. You never saw that. Interesting though, an alternate picture of Luke from a deleted scene that's gotten around, especially from the newer special editions, of him looking up at the battle. And it just goes along that way. Nothing. I gotta prompt this because this is a heavy device. It just kind of goes through. The shots are pretty recognizable from the film. There's a deleted scene with Luke and Biggs. Some alternate special effect shots, like the Jawa's blaster looks like a puff of air coming out of it rather than a bolt of electricity. Yeah, just very cool to kind of leaf through these things and just look and see how these things were presented back in the day and how we consumed them until home video happened. We were given just little scraps and we held on to them. We looked at these images for hours and hours, read the text, and we could hear everything in our head from the film when we would be looking at these. And it's funny because, again, going through some of these pictures of the film back in the day, and then as the special edition changes happened, some of the shots are different. I mean, now. So, yeah, we'll get to that. That's almost a similar shot of Vader between the two of them. Cool. So let me just jump him up here. Yeah, not much difference between the Empire one. I mean, there's a promo shot of the droids on the back that isn't really in the film, but while they were shooting the scene, they probably snapped that shot and kept going. Just leafing through it. I'm not going to go through as much before as the other one, now that we kind of have an idea. But just love the format. You got the kind of just again stay in it. Here's an interesting shot. I always try to figure out, and I've seen this on other medium too. All right, Luke is obviously holding, or I don't know, because you can see the bottom of the saber. I'm trying to do this so the paper doesn't roll off on me. You can see the bottom of the saber down here, somewhat, and it's going up. And he should be holding onto the saber up here, but the blade is coming out here. So, his hand would have rightly been fried off. So, this camera is heavy on one holding this, so I can't get up here close. So yes, I haven't figured that shot out yet. I don't know what they were doing there. And general shots of everything in the film was pretty much there. It wasn't anything really out of the film. It's all accounted for. I remember all the scenes as they portray them. There's a shot here of a medical droid tending to a dead tauntaun. So, little things of the deleted scenes alluding to the Wampa's attack on the base, killing a tauntaun. So yeah, and even so, I mean, even then, back then, when the movie was fresh out and you just saw it, and you see those shots, and it kind of blew your mind because you had no reference about what was going on. You had no ability to find other people and ask them and internet them and Google them. You just had to ask your friends who were too busy chewing gum and playing sports, and in my case, just sitting around playing guitar and watching. Playing Atari and watching cartoons and reading Star Wars books. So I'm going to get to it quick here. I mean, this is similar. Oh yeah, there. Okay. This page was viewed plenty. All right, here's the shot, and I'm going to put this down for a second. I'm going to keep the Falcon on the page so it doesn't fly away from me. All right. So we have a shot here of Luke in the Rancor pit, obviously having Jedi jumped up to the grate, or I don't know if it was before he fell or what have you. And I have not seen or heard of any deleted scenes in any of the releases of any of the films that have ever alluded to this, but here's a shot of this. Where did this come from? I don't know. I don't even think it says anything about it in the book. I was reading the book before, and it doesn't say that Luke jumped up and grabbed anything, but picture is right there. So they filmed this. Interesting. So I don't know if anybody else knows about this or the whereabouts of such footage. Let me know. So I think if there's anything else in here, I don't want to get too much of the text in there, but right, Jabba getting choked out to death by a 5'3", 110-pound woman. That would happen unless she force choked him. Maybe she was doing that. I think there was another shot in here somewhere that I was curious about. I'm spending all of your time with me while I'm doing this, and if it doesn't show up, I'll be upset. Yeah, everything seems to be here. Yeah, that's all right. These are some shots easily placed in the film. Now here's a shot, but I think there was a deleted scene I'd since seen of them coming into the bunker. I don't know if there's anything else. However, I don't know if you see it here or not. There's a scene in Return of the Jedi that when they captured everybody coming out of the bunker, and the rebels are all standing in a circle. There's a guy in a biker scout uniform with the helmet off, with his hands up above his head. So I'm thinking he was disguised. He's a rebel soldier disguised as a biker scout, but they never showed how that happened. So if you watch even the current version of it today, you'll still see that scene in there. So yeah. Oh, and this was my absolute favorite shot I've ever seen from Return of the Jedi, and it was never in the film, and I haven't found a proper print of it yet. It's just in medium like this, but one of my favorite shots. Obviously made for the film but never used or whatever, but love it. Anyway, okay, so that's that. Nothing special in the back of this one like the other two. Although the time period, maybe it was just because they did this or not, I don't know, but the black and the red color scheme seemed to indicate the early 80s for me. Maybe it was the emerging metal scene happening. So yeah, let's just get a real quick look at these two guys while I'm talking, and then we'll sign off. So yeah, that was my nerdy little voyage into my comic book and storybook history as a kid. So if any of it was enjoyable, I'm glad it was. If not, I'll get to more fun, higher end adult collectibles here soon, and we'll start talking about that stuff. So until then, see you later. Bye.